Good morning. Welcome to the Ex-Wife Files. Ex-Wife Files. Ex-Wife Files. This is Life's Dream, number 36. We look forward to having some fun with you today. All right, let's go.
Before you bring me them fiddles, I don't need nothing that don't bleed a little, that's right. It's got to wiggle in the pan, cause I'm a Garvey and I'm an Idaho Potato man. Now don't you pick it from a tree, don't dig it out of the ground. I'll eat it if it moves and runs around, alright. Catch it if charcoal broil. All right. I keep a cow on hand. And you can tell the cook that I'm the Idaho Potato man. So when you bring me the steak, be sure to keep the potato, keep the peas and the carrots and the lettuce and tomato. Oh, ick! 'Cause I'm no vegetarian. I'm just a New York steak, not an Idaho Potato man. I come from part of the world. You want me to say that again? Okay. I come from part of the world where life is sacred and they never cook it and they never bake it. But now I'm American. I want a New York steak, not an Idaho Potato man. Don't you send me down to the salad bar, and if it's French onion soup, it's au revoir, maybe. Excusez-moi, madame. I'm a filet mignon, not a French fry potato garçon. Chevrolet. I'm feeding my face, getting animal fat all over the place. Yahoo! Eating all the flesh I can. I'm just a New York steak, not an Idaho Potato man. All right, here we go. Oh, that was a harmonica. I thought something exploded. Let me try it again.
Battle of the Keys. Battle of the Keys versus Cork.
Right, they won. They won this time completely. Completely. I just you get carried away nowadays, you know. But.
So what are we up to today?
It's story time.
Oh my goodness. Already. Story time pirouette. Mm-hmm. All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi to Steve Kikoen.
Hello, everyone.
And
we're going to get to the comments in a few hours. I go back to the comments. In a few hours, I go back to the comments. I have to remember to speak up. I have to go back to the comments later. I don't answer them while they're going on. So we'll do that in a couple hours because we have other business first. Today's story is less entertainment and more information, more about the challenges of life, inspired by Jacqueline Dixon, Willie Dixon's youngest daughter, who said to me, Corky, you got to talk about politics and current events a little bit. I have no problem doing that. This will be related very much to current events, and it'll be dedicated to John Lewis. And as we go through the crags and crevices of what must be addressed, we will take you out with sweet melodies and meditative tune, followed by a gentle meet and greet on Zoom at corkymusic.com/stream. So if you go to corkymusic.com/stream, at the end of this, miraculously will appear on that webpage all the passwords and codes and ins and outs of getting to our Zoom meet and greet, which will happen 5 minutes after this live stream on Facebook ends. My ex-wife, Sandra Siegel, is Associate Professor of the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. She's our guest speaker today. A certified cognitive behavioral therapist, registered nurse, clinical psychologist. She authored an APA-published book on group therapy with duality diagnosed individuals. A director of the Inner City Mental Health Center for more than 10 years. Clinical director for both nursing and social services of a large long-term care facility for severely mentally ill individuals, as well as a team leader of the Thresholds Justice Program, very popular program. She served as an expert mitigator on death penalty cases for Cook County Public Defender's Office. She's a clinician and a supervisor at the Cook County Jail Women's Justice Program. Since her teens, she's been a hero for people in need, for the homeless, for the downtrodden, and the maltreated. Not to mention animals. Sandra one time had 6 cats and 3 dogs. The singer-songwriter Patrick Garvey had just come out of a bitter divorce where his wife took everything from him, including his dog. He was not happy about that. So when he came to visit his dog and his wife, actually, he was coming to just visit his dog. His dog bit him.
That's a very sad story.
Yes.
And I forgot to say, he wrote a song about his ex-wife, and he called it The Iron Maiden Blues.
The next day, he's at the quiet night, and he saw Sandra bring a dog into the quiet night that she had rescued off of Lakeshore Drive. He was wandering around on Lakeshore Drive. And she came to the quiet night while we were performing with Siegel-Schwall. And he was inspired to watch all this, to write this song in the state he was in and what he saw. This is what he wrote. He wrote the song Traitor from Decatur, which is on our 953 West album. And here's a line from Traitor from Decatur. You found a lonesome brown dog walking down along the outer drive. You smothered him with kisses while your man don't have enough to keep alive. So he wrote that. That was about Sandra.
Traitor from Decatur, you're an easy mama with the blues. Traitor from Decatur, you're an easy mama with the blues. Oh, every operator got you crying with his lonesome news. You're so full of loving, babe, you could ship it out across the sea. Ship it out across the sea. Ship it out across the sea. You're so full of loving, babe, you could ship it out across the sea. Ship it out across the sea. Ship it out across the sea. Oh, there just ain't nothing, baby, not a single feeling left in there for me. You found a lonesome brown dog walking down along the outer drive. You found a lonesome brown dog walking down along the outer drive. You smothered him with kisses while your man don't have enough to keep alive. There's trains across the city. See your baby standing all alone. See your baby standing alone. See your baby standing alone. Trains across the city. See your baby standing all alone. See your baby standing alone. See your baby standing alone. It don't matter if you miss one. There's another coming by to take you home.
So I was with Sandra from about 1966 until 72. So she carries a lot of memories. You know, she went to Sanfrancisco with the Siegel-Schwall, just everywhere. She traveled all that time. She was really good friends with Janis Joplin. She used to go shopping with Janis. And she has some amazing stories to tell about San Francisco and other places. Now, Holly calls Sandra her wife-in-law, right, honey?
That's right.
So, Sandra is someone who's always been willing to get into trouble.
Good trouble.
Good trouble. Necessary trouble, to paraphrase John Lewis. So, we're about to introduce you to Sandra, but first I want to tell you, it was what, 50, it was like, 40 years ago. Yeah, 40 years ago that, I had already been in this apartment for a few years, which I had purchased in 1976. I'm walking into the kitchen, into my back porch, out onto the porch. I look in the yard next door, and I see someone I think is Sandra. I go, Sandra, is that you? She says, Corky, what are you doing here? I said, well, I own this condo unit. And she said, oh my God, I I just closed on this condo right here. Millions of people in the naked city, and she moves next door. So we see Sandra every day. Like I say, Holly calls her wife-in-law. Right. Anyway, we're going to reenact this experience of me going out onto the porch and seeing Sandra and going, Sandra, is that you? We're going to reenact that, and then Sandra's going to take over. So here we go. Okay, see, there I am. You gotta, I probably wasn't bald then, but that's okay. Here we go. Sandra, is that you?
What are you doing here?
Huh?
What are you doing here?
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
I own this little condo unit.
I just bought the one upstairs.
You just bought the one upstairs?
I just bought the one upstairs. We're neighbors,
Unbelievable.
man. We're neighbors.
Wow.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's so funny, Corky. That's really funny. Okay, so I just wanted to start out and say, first of all, thank you, Holly and Corky, for inviting me to do this. I call Holly my wife-in-law, and we are there for each other always, and we always will be. And I appreciate both of you from the bottom of my heart. I also want to take 1 minute and say thank you to Bernice and Ellis, your beautiful parents. And Corky, when I was a very young girl, when I met Corky and his parents, Bernice and Ellison, I was lost. I was a lost girl. I had a young child, Donald. He's a grown man now. But if it wasn't for Corcola, that's what we call him sometimes, and Bernice and Ellis, I don't know if I would have been able to accomplish the things I've done in my life, because they gave me courage and believed in me and all of that. So again, I just want to say thank you to you. You may save my life so many times, and I really appreciate it. So, okay. So you've heard it before, but it's called The Unicorn. And this happened in the summer of love. So it happened in 1967 when Corky and I were living in San Francisco. And we had a road manager, Mark Heiser, also lived with us. He was from Chicago, and we had all kind of migrated to San Francisco, where all the musicians, white musicians from Chicago, were now pretty much staying, and people from white people from all across the country were there in this sort of ideal, beautiful place. So, if anyone knows Corky, you know, no drugs, no alcohol, no smoking, and that's the way he was back then. And even though in San Francisco, everyone around us, everyone was doing drugs, and particularly LSD. Okay, it was a very popular drug everywhere around us, the musicians, everybody. So Mark and I, we got curious, we said, let's try this. This should be interesting. Everyone's talking about it. Let's try and drop some acid. We actually did tell Corky, and he was not pleased, but he did agree to come with us to Golden Gate Park while we dropped our acid the first time, okay? So, not having a clue, I'm clueless about any of this. We dropped this Owsley acid, which turns out to be later to be one of the most powerful acids, and it was on a little tiny thing, it didn't look like it was going to be that potent. And we get walking to Golden Gate Park, and about halfway there, I knew, oh my God, this is something above and beyond anything I expected. So I said to Corky, don't leave us. No matter what you do, don't leave us, because this is very powerful, and I don't know what's going to happen. And he nodded. We got to Golden Gate Park. I lost all sense of time, reality. I looked one way, and in the trees on the right, there were people in the trees with horns like devils. And I looked to the left, there's people in the trees with angel wings. I could see right through Corky's body and his skeleton. It was unbelievable, okay? It was so powerful. I lost all track of time. Somewhere along the line, Cork says, we gotta go, I got a gig tonight, I'm opening for Jimi Hendrix. Now, mind you, neither of us knew who Jimi Hendrix was at that time. He was just, who knows? He was not Jimi Hendrix we know today. So we walk back to the apartment and Cork says, I gotta go, you're gonna be okay. Oh yeah, we're fine, we're cool, we're good. So Corky goes on to the gig, like the responsible man he is. Mark and I are freaking out. Sometime later, I don't know, because I had no sense of time, we decide to go to the gig as well. So we walk out the door and literally we didn't know where we were. Now, mind you, we walked there every day. But we were lost. We didn't know which way to go. We were in panic. And suddenly a unicorn appeared. Now, both Mark and I, to this day, remember that unicorn. And he was so nice. He said, come on, I'll take you. So the unicorn took us to the auditorium. And when we got there, Jimi Hendrix was on stage. There was a light show in the back. And there were people like this throughout. It was just packed with people. We walked in and Jimi Hendrix was playing Purple Haze. He hit a note, and I swear, if I hear that song today, I have a flashback. Corky knows I've had flashbacks. It was a body orgasm, okay? It was unbelievable. It hit me to my soul. And Mark fell on the floor and passed out in this crowd. And so we had to take him. The emergency ambulance came and they took him to a psychiatric hospital. This is all true. And the next day I went and picked him up at the hospital. And they referred us to the Haight-Ashbury Clinic, which at the time, now it's a very famous research place, but at the time it was just a little clinic, And they taught me how to talk somebody down from a bad trip. And I thought, this is really cool, right? Now, as I went on in my career, I worked primarily with severely mentally ill people, schizophrenia, and people with psychosis. And then 50 years ago, Haight-Ashbury serves me today in helping people who are freaking out. And it also makes me empathize with what it's like to be psychotic. And only when I was psychotic, I knew why I was psychotic, and I knew it was going to pass. My clients don't know why, and it's not going to pass. But it still gives me a special relationship with them. So for that, I'm forever grateful. And I want to say in closing, thank you, Mr. Owsley, for the trip. Thank you to the unicorn for the great guidance. Thank you, Corky, for your support. And to Mark for his lifelong friendship. And to Haight-Ashbury for giving me that wonderful first training that have served me through my career. Thank you. This next story I call Black and White in America. And it took place, again, 50 years ago. It's hard to imagine 50 years have passed, but it has. And when I was first with Corky, all the musicians in Chicago, all the white blues musicians were moving out, migrating to California and to San Francisco. And they were talking about how fabulous it was. We would take that trip. Short hair, button-down shirts. I mean, we drove across the country. It was exhausting. And we got there, and this man comes out, and he has an afro. We'd never seen an afro before, and it was this beautiful afro, and he had jewelry and striped pants and print shirt, and he had the smile that was like, just brought you in, right? Come on in. And we walk into the place. It was the Avalon, I believe, and Chet Helms was the booker. And there they were practicing for the light show. In those days, they did it with sand trays, not electronics. And on the stage rehearsing was the Grateful Dead. And this guy was just, you walked in there and I said to myself, I never want to leave here. This is the most marvelous place I've ever been. It's paradise. I never want to leave here. But of course, we had to go. And we went back and forth to Chicago, and then somewhere down the line, I think it was the Summer of Love as well, right before the Summer of Love, we decided that we're going to try to place our roots there in San Francisco and live there for a while. And then Cork had a new band, and it was mixed. It was Rollo and Sam, and we had 2 black folks and 2 white folks. And we started again. And now I wasn't naive about race. I was young, but prior to meeting Corky, I had a boyfriend, an older black man, a jazz musician, played with Miles Davis, who I didn't know who Miles Davis was either. And I spent some time in Elijah Muhammad's commune in Brooklyn, and I was educated there when Malcolm X was there, actually. I was educated, but I didn't really get it. I knew, okay, I don't know about you guys, but at school, I was taught Columbus discovered America. That's what I was taught. How ridiculous is that? It's totally ridiculous, right? But here I got some real history, but I don't know if I really got it, okay? So we started out, and Chicago's a very segregated city, yet it's also a diverse city. We started out on our usual journey in the van, and we got out into the plains, and it's like, there were no black people. I didn't see any black people. We couldn't go in a motel. We couldn't go in a hotel. We couldn't go in a restaurant. So I would have to go in and get the food and bring it out. Or the other thing we did, I'd go in and order the food, or Cork and I would go in and order the food. The band would come in. And when the band came in, the restaurant would go silent, like silent. And I would just knock me off my feet. And I remember, I think we were just leaving Kansas in a small town, and Corky's driving, I'm in the passenger seat, and a pickup truck pulled up next to us and rolled his window down. It was a young white man, and he had a rifle in his hand. And he said, "Get the f*** out of town." Now, anybody who knows me knows I'm a very loud woman, and I'm a very outspoken woman. But I was terrified. So I said, "Yes, sir." And we got out of town. As we drove to San Francisco, I felt something different. Like that moment, that experience gave me it put everything together for me. So we got back to San Francisco, and of course it was paradise, and I forgot all that. And although we were in the midst of a the civil rights movement, Malcolm X had already been executed, assassinated. JFK had been assassinated, so it wasn't innocent times at all. But when you were in San Francisco, you felt like you were in paradise. It just felt different, like it should be. This is the way it should be. So we indulged ourselves there for a while. And then in 1968, April, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. I'll get emotional now. And our city was burning down. And so we said, we got to go home. We got to fight for our city. We can't be here. Even though this is paradise, we have to go home. So we all got in the truck. We left a lot of our belongings behind, and we came home to Chicago. And we moved to Uptown. Corky and I moved to Uptown, which at the time, it's still a little bit like this. But this was a time of deinstitutionalization. So all the mentally ill people from the state hospitals were being dumped in Uptown if they were white. If they were black, they were dumped on the west side. So there was lots of mentally ill people, a very poverty-ridden community at the time. And we joined up with a group called the Uptown People's Coalition. What's his name? Chuck Geary. A character beyond belief. White guy, carried a rifle. He was a pig farmer in Kentucky who had moved up here. Look him up. He did a lot of activist work, and we worked as a sister group to the Black Panthers. And so that was my first introduction to fighting for social justice, to fighting for something that I believed in. And 50 years have passed. 50 years. And not that much is different, unfortunately. Not that much is different. I mean, if you look at it, if you just think about slavery and then sharecropping and then chain gangs and now mass incarceration, it's the same thing. It's modern slavery. It's just has a new name and a new look, but it's the same thing. In the 60s, they used to lynch people in the South and have picnics around it, or burn young children alive. And we don't do that anymore, thank goodness. But we also, on a regular, constant basis, watch police murder people in front of us, black men. So not that much, it looks different, but it's the same concept. So some days I get up and I feel hopeless. I feel there's nothing I can do. I'm giving up. There's nothing I can do, especially now. There's nothing I can, especially after Mr. Trump was elected. Oh my gosh, I was so hopeless. But then I pulled something, and I'm going to close it just reading you this short piece by Barack Obama, who I adore, and I look to for encouragement. And this is what he says. I have always believed that hope is that stubborn thing inside us that insists, despite all the evidence in the contrary, that something better awaits us, so long as we have the courage to keep reaching, to help, to keep working, and to keep fighting. So I choose to keep fighting and have hope. So thank you.
To live where the animals are, in the jungle by the tangleweed, where the kangaroos smile, so do the crocodile, the tiger got the monkey tree. And it is just in the mind. To sail over sunfish and whale to a garden in the frosty sea, where the sweet waters flow and the islanders know how to be the way they want to be. Just in the mind. To go where the cocoa bean grow, the cucarachas dancing in the sun, where you get what you get, nobody's upset, because there's plenty there for everyone. And it is just in the